Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. Tim back in the studio today with one of my partners in crime, my friend Michael Zuber. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Hey man, glad you could make some time. The Center for Disease Control of all people have come out with an eviction moratorium that I'm getting a lot of questions about. I'm going to do some videos about it later in the week, but I thought who better than the guy who has what 100+ doors of rental property in the great state of California?
Yep.
Who better to give me some insight on this? So really quickly, if you guys aren't familiar with Michael, Michael, give him the 30-second thumbnail.
Yeah. So I'm my story is one of working a full-time job for a long time, building a real estate portfolio on the side, retiring at 45 and enjoying the life of financial freedom for the last 3 or 4 years, all on
Yeah.
rentals.
Awesome. And how many doors do you have?
I don't actually count very often. I think it's about 175 or
Look at you. I got
180.
so much rental property, I don't even count doors, but
Yeah, I do.
yeah. Well, on a serious note, you and I talked when this virus first hit,
Mhm.
and there was concern about folks paying their rent. How have you fared over the last few months?
Yeah. So I think we did a video sometime in March and I said,
Mhm.
you know what? I don't know. Right. Quick story. I had a meeting with my team on a Sunday, which is very rare, right? To say, okay, let's look at our entire portfolio, and we tiered our tenants because we didn't know. We didn't know what was going to
Yeah,
happen, right?
right.
So we basically identified 20 people that we thought were risk, meaning they had a job. Because again, we had their app, so we knew where they worked, right? They worked in the hotels or they worked in restaurants or whatever. So we identified 20 people that were a risk, and we just started over communicating. Um, now that we're 6 months past that, we have never had a month of rent collection, knock on wood, less than 94%.
That's excellent.
Far exceeded my
So you
expectations.
contacted what you thought were the 20 tenants who may have issues
Yeah, we
and just
over
opened up a line of
communicated.
communication with them?
Yep. Yeah, over communicated. Of the 20, last time I checked, 15 of them have never missed a payment. 2 or 3 of them, we've set up partial payments to better match their now different incomes.
Mhm.
We have given some rent credits. Again, part of being a good landlord is realizing that we're in interesting times, right?
Right.
We have had eviction moratoriums in California long before the CDC thing.
Mhm.
And frankly, I would have done all these things with or without them. So I have forgiven probably $20,000 in rent since March. The other question I get asked all the time is how much late rent. I think we're right around $45,000 in rent that we haven't collected. We have 2 tenants, what I call playing games. One stopped immediately in
Mhm.
February or March. It's now about 12 grand he's short. And the other one started in May or June. But yeah, all in, we're down about 45,000 in total. And normally, as a landlord, I would never let it get this bad. But because of California,
Right.
now because of CDC, it just keeps building every month.
Yeah, you're always going to have those jokers that take advantage of any situation to get out of paying their rent.
Yeah, and one thing that I think is very clear, I was actually interviewed by the Business Journal for an article, and my point is, um, we're as I said earlier, I've already forgiven about $20,000 in rent, which
Mhm.
I'm not including in that 45 number because it's the right thing to do for people. But I promise you, those 2 people that are playing games with me, I will do everything at my legal disposal to make sure I get a civil judgment, which means I don't know, January, February, March of next year, I will
Right.
finally file an eviction. I will get them out. I'll spend $1,000 to do it. And then I will hit them with a judgment, which again will cost me money. I will never see those funds, but
Right.
it will be on their credit report forever. 100% because they are playing a game. They're not communicating. They are laughing at us saying, ha, ha, ha. So, okay, you win today. I'll win tomorrow.
Right. That $45,000, that's rents that were not paid.
Correct. Yeah. Sometimes it's partial months, sometimes it's delayed. They didn't get their unemployment, they filed, but they can't get it.
Mhm.
That's, you know, that's a big number for lots of people.
Right.
Remember, I have lots of doors. So
What is
kind of,
your do you hope to collect that 45,000 or a partial of it at some point? And you're
I
not
would
just going to write
say,
it off, I wouldn't think. Knowing you, you
no,
might. I wouldn't.
well, I think more than half of it are going to come from these 2 jokers, which I'll never see it.
Right.
So that will end up in a civil judgment that will be on their credit report for 10 years. There's a chance you could sell that debt to a debt collector for like 10 or 15 cents on the dollar. I don't know what I'll do yet. I'm assuming that's going to be a monstrous new business next year is people buying these judgments.
Yeah.
So I might see 10 or 15% on the half of it. The other half, I actually think I'll collect just over time. I'll either collect or forgive. One thing I will likely do is say, hey, you're 3 months down. If you pay a month, I'll give you the second month free. It's just doing the right thing for people. This is a people business. These tenants did absolutely nothing wrong. When they communicate with me, I will bend over backwards for them. It's I believe in good karma. And I'm lucky to be in a financial position where I could, forgive a couple of months rent for a few people.
Sure.
But again, if you're not communicating, I also have the financial wherewithal to make sure that I will get that judgment.
I think that's one misconception that a lot of renters have is the moratorium, and we're going to talk about the new one. It actually gives them a pass on paying rent. The truth is that rent piles up and is due.
It's not rent forgiveness.
Right.
It is not forgiveness. It is delay.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the CDC, Center for Disease Control, has come out with this moratorium through the end of the year. One of the questions I get a lot is, what's the CDC got to do with rent moratoriums?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I just certainly spent a couple of days going, wow, when did the CDC have the authority to impact contracts? Contracts are in the U.S. Constitution. We're not talking California Constitution. We are talking U.S. Constitution, that you are not legally, the government, which last time I checked, the CDC is a federal government agency, is able to interfere with contracts. And leases are contracts. Right. So I have no idea how they have that authority. I assume it, and I know it's in legal fights, but instead of bitching about them not having the legal authority, I had to figure out what it meant. Yeah. And there's some real issues in there. I could tell you it's not as horrible as it could have been. It could have been worse. Yeah. Well, I think the CDC stand is the moratorium is to help quell the spread of the virus. Well, I know people are evicted. They're either going to move in with someone, or they're going to go, going to move in at maybe a group shelter, whatever. And so I think it's my understanding that the CDC proposed this and the administration approved it. But that's the one thing I'm getting a lot is, what's the CDC got to do with this? Well, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. You can't get around it. It is being challenged in court. Absolutely. I think the National Apartment Association now is pushing back, but they have to. Again, this is impacting the U.S. Constitution. It is absolutely, and it's nationwide. That was different than before, right? California's had a moratorium since February or March. Once the CDC came out and said it's across the country, whoa, that caught some people's attention. It's got people in Alabama going, "Hey, what the heck?" We had the what was it? The CARES Act. Yep, that had a moratorium. It expired, I think, in July. Yeah, I think so. July 1st, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see any change at that point? No, because California was worse. California was more restrictive, so I've always been impacted by that one. It's like the CARES Act and CDC. People may not know this. If your local environment is worse or more restrictive, right, the more restrictive one wins, right? So the CDC doesn't really impact California all that much because the California restriction is greater, but the CDC one hurts the entire country, which is why you have the National Association of Apartments going, hey, that's not cool. What are you doing? Yeah. How long is the one in California? Is there an end date on there, or is it just until Newsom decides it's done? I don't know I'm sure there's an end date, but I have zero faith in the end date. Yeah. The good news is you've got a governor with very good hair. He likes his photo ops. Is that the only thing people can say about him? Yeah, he loves photo ops, and he likes to use big words to make himself sound smart. Well, here in Alabama, our governor looks and talks like Aunt B from the Andy Griffith show. But there you go. So let's talk a little bit about this new moratorium, because it does have some requirements that renters have to meet. It's just not an across the board. If you're a renter, that automatically applies. It's got 4 or 5 bullet points attached to it that
you have to meet these requirements. You have to sign a document stating
You have to attest
that you have to attest. And I mean, if it goes to court, I mean, you could be, charged with perjury and all kinds of stuff. So let me just pull this up here and talk about it. The first requirement is the renter must earn $99,000 a year or less as an individual, 198 as a couple. I mean, here, those are some pretty good salaries right there.
Yeah. And again, this is why a lot of, again, in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Orange County, a lot of the California market's not really impacted by that, right? A starting tech job for the most part is above those numbers. Right. So again, if you're a landlord in San Francisco, which is again, getting crushed, the CDC order doesn't help you because most of your tech, it doesn't help. So, but again, that's why you can't really pick these numbers, right? 99K in Alabama is very different than 99K in Manhattan, right? Yeah. It's just different.
Yeah. 99K here, you're buying a $300,000 house. In Manhattan, you're living in a box.
Well, here's the real deal.
A very nice box.
Box. Yeah. 99K in Alabama, you're not a renter. You're
not. You are typically a buyer or somebody.
So it doesn't even impact. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing you have to attest to is that you earn less than $99,000 a year.
Yep.
You have to attest that you have tried to obtain government rental assistance.
Yep.
And I would assume you got to provide documentation of all this. Nobody's going to take you at your word.
Yes, absolutely. These have to be documented, and you have to do them monthly. This really has to show that you as the tenant are going beyond best efforts. This is trying to get away from the person sitting on their couch playing video games.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to be able to BS your way through this because there is some documentation.
Yep.
The tenant is currently unable to pay rent in full due to a loss of income or heightened medical expenses. Are those due to the virus, or is that just
the virus? Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you or your husband or your kid got sick and you can't work and you got to watch them, it's basic. When I read all of that, you're trying to protect the single parent.
Okay.
Right. Because that's really who's getting crushed in this, right? Single parent can't have their kids at school. I can't go to work. It's just a mess, man. It's rough.
Totally. The tenant is trying to make timely partial payments using his best efforts. And you mentioned that opening up lines of communications with all your tenants really is how you got that going. So you're getting at least partial payments from most of your tenants.
All but two.
Okay. All but those two bozos. Do we want to name them and put their picture on social media?
Nope. I don't want any lawsuits.
And finally, the tenant has no other housing options without posing a health risk, include living in close quarters with others or resorting to homelessness. So those are, what is that, four or five bullet points?
Well, there's actually a fifth one that actually I think comes out on the landlord side. This is the big one that California missed in the beginning. And that is the only reason, so let's step back.
Okay.
In this order, basically it protects you if you can't pay rent, but doesn't allow you to be a bad actor because a lease has other rules, right? You must, I don't know, no loud music, or you can't be a drunk, you can't sell drugs, all of those other things. So if you invalidate the lease, any other criteria other than rent payment, you can absolutely be evicted. Okay. Which is good because I had a tenant who was selling drugs that we tried to evict. And in California, at least in the first part of this eviction moratorium, I wasn't able to file it because the courts were closed.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell, right? So, there is things for the landlord that I was very happy to see because that you need to take care of your property, right? If they're threatening violence against you, the landlord, and if they're destroying your property, you can absolutely file eviction now, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah. This says the order stops evictions for non-payment of rent as long as the tenant meets that criteria and gives his or her landlord a signed declaration stating as such.
Correct.
So you literally have to print out something, sign it, give it to your landlord. However, if you violate the lease in any other way, break the law, threaten the health and safety of others, you can still be evicted. Are the courts open there?
They've just opened. I think they opened in August, I think.
How backed up?
But they're very slow. If you filed one today, you probably won't get it till January.
Yeah. So the landlord does still have rights. And I know that, and I'm as compassionate as the next guy.
Sure.
More or less. But I'm also a businessman.
Yeah.
And you know this, your rental property is your business.
Oh, for sure.
And so if you have consumers of your business not paying you for product,
Yeah.
that puts the onus on you. And this is the one thing that I hear a lot. I own this property, even if my tenants are not paying,
Hmm.
I'm still liable for making that payment a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
there's a lot. Well, here's the real question that I think people need to ask is, what is the outcome of this? Because eventually we
Mhm.
will get through this crisis. Eventually the CDC order will be reversed or denied or whatever the right word is. Well, what's going to happen? Well, here's the deal. I believe renters that want to play the game win short term,
Mhm.
right? The two bozos as an example. I believe small mom and pop landlords unfortunately bear the brunt, and many of them will lose their properties.
Right.
Either lose it outright, meaning foreclosure, or choose that being a landlord in this environment is not something I ever want to do again. So when this reverses, this is what's going to happen, and people need to see it. You're a mom and pop landlord. You get through this crisis. It's now March or April of 2021, right? I'm just picking months now. You're like, damn, that hurt. Oh, God, that hurt. Oh, I never want to do that again. What are you going to do? You are going to give your tenant a 60-day notice that says, thank you very much for staying here. Time to go,
Right.
which is your legal right to do. They are going to then be out in 60 days. You are then going to clean up your property and you are going to sell it to an owner occupant. Because what's flying off the shelf today? Owner occupant clean housing. So
Right.
here's the deal, folks. For all those people complaining about affordable housing and affordable rentals, you are about to lose 20 to 30% of affordable rentals next year, guaranteed. So that's going to suck.
Mhm.
And people aren't talking about it, but
Mm.
mom and pop landlords are owners. They run a business. They have been vilified. They have been asked to suffer pain that others have not,
Right.
and they will have enough. They are going to go, I'm not doing that anymore. I hate my state or federal government for making me suffer these huge losses. I'm going to ask my tenant to leave legally 60 days. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to be done.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, folks. Affordable housing is going to fall.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm hearing that a lot from people in my network. They're like, and I'm not big into rentals. I think I've got one rental left because of the market here, man. I'm flipping like a banshee. I can
Good.
houses that I previously would have gotten and thought about renting. I'm flipping just
You
because of the
should. The
market.
next 6 to 18 months will be the likely prove the best flipping market I've ever seen.
Well, I think one of the reasons why is at least here, flipping has become really competitive
Well, sure.
because, we're at a 20-year low in inventory, the virus, blah, blah, blah. But, we have more competition now to buy foreclosures and distress. And, most of the flips that I'm doing are coming from my personal network.
I'm sure.
Wholesalers here are coming out with deals and just basically putting them on auction. And
Yeah.
it's just people are paying stupid money for crappy houses. So the
Yeah.
consensus here among a lot of my peers is, you know what, in 6 months, we're going to all walk out the door, pick up all of these houses that these flippers bought today who didn't realize they had no margin for profit. And now they're having to sell them off.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a lot of that here. You seeing that out there at all? How's the
No,
wholesale?
I think first off, I haven't got a deal from a wholesaler, meaning a deal, meaning I would do it. There's margin in all year.
Stupid.
I guess I got one February 1st. That was my last wholesale deal, but I get wholesale opportunities every week, and they're basically retail today.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, here's a good one. We had one come out here that oh gosh, it was an old tear down house on a couple
Mhm.
acres. The wholesaler price was 60. After fixing it up and making it pretty, you might get 110, 120.
Mm.
It's sold like in the 90s.
There's
There's
that's
just no math that makes that worth doing. But again,
yeah.
it's just people watch
There's a
HBO.
little window. There's a little window. I've been doing this 20 years. I've
Yeah.
seen stupid before.
Yeah, well,
I've
you know the
I've
math better than anybody. But
yeah.
anyway, so I think the point of this topic on this moratorium is this: it's not free rent.
No.
It's kind of a hit of the pause button, but first of the year, those rents are still going to become due. And
Yeah, the
that's
rents
when
are going to
you're
become
see a lot of
due. You're going to
eviction.
have to work at them. Landlords should do a workout if they can, meaning, hey, let's just say you're down $3,000 for easy math.
Mhm.
You could certainly demand the $3,000 right away. You aren't going to get it in most cases.
Right.
What you're likely going to do is you're going to say, hey, the rent used to be $1,000. Why don't you pay me $1,250 for the next however many months that works out?
Right.
It's just going to suck. Basically, I said it earlier. I think there will be a huge business opportunity for people who want to buy civil judgments, which is what this rent will become, right?
Right.
$3,000 will become a civil judgment.
Mhm.
So if you can buy it for 10 cents on the dollar and then go collect it at 50 cents, I promise you there will be a business created to do that.
Oh yeah, sounds like an online course you need to create.
No,
That's
I value my time way too much.
Yeah. Well, so final words here. What is your best advice to all these landlords here that are just, they really can't do anything at the moment but just sit back and watch? What's
Yeah, I would guess I would do it. I would look at it on a timeline. And again, I am a landlord just like you,
Mhm.
right? So first and foremost, it's there, right? It's something we must deal with.
Right.
Communication is always better than the lack of communication. I would tell you, I get it. It sucks. It hurts. Don't wallow in it.
Mhm.
Realize that this will pass. You are an owner of assets in an appreciating market. So net, you're probably winning long term. And then you ask yourself next year, what do you want to do?
Right.
Do you want to continue being a landlord or do you want to sell? Because I think that's going to be the choice.
Yeah.
And you'll be likely lucky in an environment where you could sell for max prices if you clean it up. Or you can be a landlord in an environment where there's less competition. Because I actually think long-term tenants lose. Less quality product on the market, rents go up. Rental inflation is going to be an outcome of this because of lack of supply. So long-term, if you can get through this and it's going to hurt and it's going to feel like this, I expect rental rates to go up because it's supply demand. And I think being a landlord will be okay. The other thing to realize, this is not the hardest year to be a landlord. The hardest year for me to be a landlord was 2006 because people were getting these stupid financial loans and buying houses when they shouldn't.
Mhm.
That was my least profitable year
Really?
because I had so many turns. I were losing people with apartments left and right. I couldn't figure out why. It's because they can move into an apartment or buy a house for $0 down and then not ever make a payment and stay there for a year. And then they come back and be renters.
Mhm.
2006 was the worst year to be a landlord.
Yeah.
2020 it's not even close to how painful 2006 was.
I think the people that I hear the most of that are concerned are those landlords that do not have deep pockets. I mean,
Yeah,
let's
you
be
gotta have
honest. There
reserves,
are a
man.
lot of folks who are landlords just kind of, working full-time jobs trying to make ends meet themselves.
Sure.
And if they can't make the mortgage payment, whether they got a forbearance back in the day or what, those are the folks that I hear from the most that are just kind of scared to death right now.
Yeah, there will be some, again, mom and pop landlords are going to lose some property.
Yeah.
And just so you know, if it happens to you, it's not life ending, right? There are lots of people I know in my network who lost lots of property in 2008. I know people that lost dozens of properties in the last crash. It's okay. You get through it.
Life moves on.
Life moves on. Don't stress yourself out. Learn the lesson, right? Emergency reserves are good. Having the financial backing is good.
Michael,
It's
you are
going to
my
hurt some.
go-to guy on this. Let's plug the YouTube channel and my favorite book on rental property.
I appreciate that. So the favorite book is really a 15-year story from a single house to financial independence.
Awesome.
Through the last crisis, called One Rental at a Time. Get it on Audible or Amazon. And the YouTube channel is One Rental at a Time.
Your YouTube channel is just on fire, man. I mean,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, give him thumbs up. Hey, buddy, I appreciate you taking out the time. Hang out there or hang in, and we'll get together soon.
You got it, buddy. Take care.
See you. Bye.
Bye.